This is Colin Dawson with the Political Minute. This is, without a doubt, extremely difficult in everything. We have had the shooting in Atlanta. We have had the shooting over in Boulder, Colorado. We have had basically someone that targeted Asians and it's passed off as a sexual fetish. And all that I can say is, if he is the same as a serial killer, what I know, granted I'm self-taught, I've watched a lot of television. That doesn't count. I've read books. Guess that kind of counts even if they're old college books from 20-some years ago. Having studied a couple of serial killer stuff, watched probably 400 hours of real documentaries on the treadmill back whenever I was in high school and stuff, on court TV, different psychologies. Always studied Jack the Ripper and, everybody throws the Zodiac around and other things like that. And I will say that I probably know that I know people looking at from when Knoxville had some crazy moments back in the day. I know that there's serial killers that I've met that the police still look in on, the military still looks in on, and they harass me online. Now, in saying that and everything, and, with dating apps and some of the harassment that goes on there, there's no way, and this is my experience from whatever it is, I'm not trying to talk about myself here, but listen here, and bear with me. There is no way this guy kills 3. You've got to go for a period of 2 or 3 months to 4 or 5 months over stressors and killers. And if you're being pursued by the police, that speeds it up, 200 or 300% minimum. Not months become weeks. And that person's going to kill every day. Then it takes like 2 or 3 years of someone basically being like a truck driver, killing people, to go and kill multiple people. I mean, 2s, you might get there and it's like, well, they start feeling good about themselves, or they got a partner with them. He's killing 3 at a time. This guy's been working for a while. And then he's multiple 48 hours later and is caught. But it's a sexual fetish that just somehow popped up. If this guy is the serial killer stereotype that we're looking at, not someone who's a hired gun or a professional at getting Asians, that can't fit the profile that most people are familiar with. It's not right. It's wrong, and it's wrapped up neatly. And yes, I understand about, Chinese people, Orientals are considered weaker than black people in the South. Their value is their intelligence, their extreme loyalty to their master, because they're kept in the kitchen. They're kept somehow close by for something of a bizarre spiritual situation. Did my family own slaves? No. Do I know a lot about people who did own slaves and even said up until the 1929 federal law was made, so there'd be punishment behind the Constitution? They're like, I'm still learning. I've still listened to people say that they're still learning over what they do with people who pick tomatoes for them or clean their house. I've watched very powerful people still say that. And I'll just tell you that there are the black slavers, which is why they were going to go to Gatlinburg and film part of Django Unchained. And it's like they could just say they were just in Chattanooga. They weren't going to go to Gatlinburg. Somebody, they had one of those surprise meetings in the director's or writer's thing, little trailer. But just in saying that, this doesn't sit right for what's happening. And I will say that the shooting in Boulder, Colorado, they're saying that the person shot at, and this guy looks more like, I don't know, he could be, they say he's Islamic, they say he's Arab. I'm going, you could make a very quick, easy jump to anybody who's German or dark-haired, fat Finnish. You could look at half the Polish people that are out there and say, okay, noses may be a little different, but he's short, fat, and dark-headed. Germans aren't really that blonde. That's what most people don't seem to get all the time. Hitler was putting Swedes on the front because they started immigrating living there. The true Aryan was looking like Hitler. Now, in saying this and everything, I know I had the thick eyebrows or whatever. I'm not Islamic. Believe me, they've DNA tested me. Now, in saying this about the guy being taken out of there, there's a person with a very stereotypical name that I saw on YouTube being interviewed about it from Native Americans, was shot at. They did report on CNN that it was a white guy. Now they're saying that it's, a non-white guy, I guess by the slightest of whatever. Native Americans and Orientals look very close together. And what I really hate about this is a lot of things that this guy has been said here that I looked up a little bit later. People from his high school had hacked over and messed with him. I've already had somebody on the way home or wherever it is that it's like, that's what Colin is, that's me. And I'm going, well, there was this heavyweight that had a wrestling match, and it's like, I never came up and said I was going to kill somebody. He had an asthma attack, and he crawled over to the side and went to the wrong coach's corner and everything. Was tapping the mat over and over. And, when you get on there, it's like you can't breathe. You got an asthma attack. You 275 pound guy stood up, and he just right to the bottom of the chin. They say he was an undercover cop, and knocked the guy completely out. 200 pounds, fell out like a light. And he's begging the wrong coach for his inhaler. That one wasn't me, and it's like, okay. It's like they took every single one of the fat guys around here that we know, or else guys that are like real skinny. Now I'm 275 pounds, 280. And I'm not the 119 flyweight anymore, if you can believe that. And it's like, okay, we do know that people from basically 21st century classrooms here do hack people with whatever they can hack into, and their old hacks from their high school. They came back with their military computers, and they hacked people even on the police force and go, oh shit, I didn't know that they got on the cops while we were gone. Guess we got to get in there and get rid of them fatties. They take one incident out there, and it's like, this guy supposedly said that, and it's like, supposedly after a high school wrestling match, he stood up and said that he was going to kill the guy after he lost. And then some other thing out there with it, and, I'm not trying to say that he was trying to do this so that he could prove that he was a good Muslim, so that he could marry into the line of the Prophet Muhammad, being Islamic. That's why you really do all that and live that way. I'm just saying that in and of this, it is very interesting that a lot of the things that I know have happened here, and I'm probably sure that with how Biden has been like he's been swift boated and other things like that, and how he seems a little bit down and sleepy, more than he normally tries to play down and sleepy. They're like, it's age nowadays. I can guarantee you that something with probably all the hacking from a high school or a college and using microwave implantations from like a fan club, that Hollywood movie stars actually have a thing against this, but it's becoming extremely mainstream technology nowadays. Extremely. And a lot of people will do this just being like, well, I'm helping someone or I'm taking away their memory. Because every time you zap in there, if you hit a neuron, that neuron's gone. Makes a little vacuole. It's like the shock images on a whale. Now, in saying this, I'm just telling you there is something really bad. There is something really crazy with these people here that will go out and do that to a person. Now, in and of this, could you do it to a person or a couple of people and get them to go out after people? A lot of times, and I'll just take these off because it's like in one community down here in the South, I'm considered black. The KKK will put me up on the thing just like anybody else. I was in the back of the car when they just shined a light in my dad's face. He has pale blue eyes. They let him drive on, and they said, that was Jim Dawson. You mean I just let that go? And it's like I rolled up over the back of the seat, and my mom told me to get back down because they didn't know they were going to shoot. Now I got out of the car seat. They're just driving me around to make sure I go to sleep. Now over in the other community right next door, they go after me because I'm Oriental. And in a lot of the other places, I've had a very big politician around here nearly take a nosedive off of a third-story balcony. People holding her down, and they threw a person out of the party because they were screaming that I was a Cherokee and that they weren't going to let any of their people be killed by some blankety blank blanks. And in a lot of the other areas, it's like I've had a person nearly want to kill themselves because they say I'm, Jewish. Or else they heard that. And they can't associate with anybody. And from 6 years on, I've had numerous people with all those reasons. When you start school, you don't associate with this. Now, can you weaponize racism? There's diets in the Bible you can weaponize racism over. Beef versus pork in the New Testament. Just like if you had veal and you came back to your hometown where they've all replaced it and thought you could make it there. No. They'll eat your kids and kill them. You'll find out right before they kill you that veal you were eating is your kid. And you're going to heaven so you can be with your father and reunite with your family. Now, you can be like, well, Colin, you live in Naziville of the USA. And you know things better than more people that certain places, they just have to give it over to them. They can't do anything. Public opinion would say that they're not a foreign national colonizing army, that they're somehow under something with Jesus because they're very orthodox and not wearing a uniform. They have all types of anti-Semitic, whatever it is they put on there. Don't say anything because it's all Oriental anti-Semitic. They're killing them just like all the blonde-haired, green-eyed, and blue-eyed Jews up in Germany. They put things on The Rock and UT. Very, very Japanese anti-Semitic. Take up the whole thing sometimes. Put the smallest little swastika flag that big on it out of thousands and thousands of other things out there. Just go by and anti-Semitism police everywhere because it's Northern European. Do anything out there and even kill someone ritualistically like Mussolini did and leave it posed in the middle of downtown Knoxville or anything, crickets don't even chirp because they might have been talking in code. People just walk by and be like, I can't believe no one's complaining about this not being anti-Semitic when it's every other place in the world. Now, in looking at what I know of, yes, most people think that Orientals are like at least a third to half all descendants of Jews. Anybody over the tribal lines out there, outside of basically that little desert halo that goes up right behind the Ural Mountains. You can be like, it's not really a desert there. Bear with that. And just go with it. Now, I know I've rambled on here quite a bit and everything else, but I'm just looking at it going, with all the World War II technology that's become so mainstream and we're actually having to limit what's there, I wouldn't trust a driving car with a BlackBerry in it, knowing what I know that people in the Northeast use BlackBerries to just assault anybody down here. And I'm going, you want to know why you're all up there? There's no food grown in the South, basically. You want to know why? All the plantation owners, even if they had slaves, they knew how to farm a little bit. They sold their plantations to the idiot Yankees that beat them. And they moved up there. And you hear about all the big Maine killings are up there of people. They all moved up there. Now they're trying to figure out how to move outside of there, and they were Democrats. Now they're all moving to the heartland and back to the South and everything else. So you'll see all the conservative Republicans moving back to Lincoln states, or else California and places. And I'm just telling you, I hate going so much off of here because all this cyber stuff and the stuff that he's complaining about, I think really probably happened to him. The last shooter. Do I think that the one down in Atlanta was somehow, if he was sped up outside of protocol or behavior? Oh, yeah. Most definitely. It's the only way it could happen. That or else he's a paid assassin from somewhere that's supposedly trying to do all this. And it's like, don't worry, we can still make everything bad for the USA with Orientals and a trade war and get China and the USA to blow each other up. Couldn't really do that because they said everybody was white with Russia and the USA. Except for some Ethiopian spies, and they fell in love with Hollywood or Detroit. Now, is it accidental? They pushed this guy too far? And the other guy down in Atlanta? I don't want to say so. Well, I still want to say that the guy's guilty of probably second-degree murder to first-degree murder. Each one of them. Because, they had their choice because it's like, I've been bullied. Hell, they laugh at me and say why I'm going bald is because everywhere that there was a hair follicle, they shot me with a microwave thing off the LED lights that are energy savers here. And I've even had one guy from Oak Ridge go, do you really think it's a good idea to have all those energy-efficient light bulbs over your head without a special filter like we have at Oak Ridge? And he was like, the black sheep of the family, and he worked at Walmart and has got half of his teeth missing. His family doesn't come around and he begs like somebody in biochemical weaponry to actually give him like $20 to make it through the week or pay his electric bill. And it's like they've sicked their security on me. And I'm going to leave it at that with who it is that I know, but you know the name if you really probably thought about it. Moving right along from that, I'm just going, did he have something happen to him? Did he do that? Yes. And yes. Is each one of them responsible for their actions? Yes. Are they a weak person? Yes. Does that mean take sympathy on them? No. Does that mean take things away from them? Yeah. The life, whatever it is out there with it, yeah. I'm death penalty, pro death penalty. Do I think that he should have a nice, long, fun, general population life before then? Hell yeah. And if somebody offs him before then, you get his death penalty. It's just a nice, good welcome party. You know, turn up the volume from Shawshank. Do I think the guns need to be taken away? High-end capacity magazines, whatever it is? No. Do I think we need to go down that slippery road and say, well, everybody has to be in the military? No. Because we'll just start genociding the fat people off. Or people who can't be in at 55 years of age. Do I think that we need to find the people that cyberly harassed him, maybe made damages to his body or something else, and made him have to go out there and have that incident, went and bought the gun and be like, hey, I'm going to be at the store next week whenever you... They'll never admit to it, but do we need to track those mother effers down? Yes. Do these people necessarily need to have kids? No. Do their families need to be deported from their ethnic country back to their ethnic country of origin, whether it's Ireland, Africa, China, or wherever? Hell yeah. Would I think that, technically their kids need to be thrown into a wood chipper and them start over? Yes. Do I think that women should be held as equally accountable as men? Yes. Do I think they need to be charged with first-degree murder with him? Most definitely, if we would ever hang someone in Nuremberg. I mean, they don't even let us talk about what they did down in Rome, Italy, where we had numerous major judges that were on the judge panel were killed before we even did D-Day. They were trying people in Italy. Do we need to have something, and you can be like, Colin, you are just way too much. There is a level above him that if they were harassing him like that, shows beyond a willing culpable situation and hurting something no different than hurting cattle and saying, you could have shot a gun or something else or gotten out of the way of the stampede. There is something that is methodically more than that, and with the day of riots, or the now riots that we have all the time, it seems like, and how they go, it doesn't even seem like they're doing anything. Maybe there's something else, that they're in a suggestible state in the mob mentality. And in a way, I don't want to give a mental defense for anybody, because these are individual peoples, and it's like whatever they were doing to push the riots to go more, it's sophisticated enough to say, this is now an individual that we can go out and take 10 lives. If they're sophisticated, semi-sophisticated, we can have them go on this killing spree for a week. If they have military training at the basic level, or police training, SWAT training, is that a month? Imagine if that type of technology or anything else was used on the Beltway sniper nowadays. Imagine if that technology is used to break a PFC, where we had so many young PFC special forces people killed in Iowa here not 5-6 years ago. They were assassinating them. So we don't really have any people that have a future in what is our Crusader level people. They say that like the Nazi Crusader is already here. They're not. This Boulder shooting, the Atlanta shooting and everything proves that we're still in this one cycle. I sent a lot of tapes in on to the Library of Congress over. There's going to be another wave that's going to be like this, that's going to come out probably from Boulder. And it's going to hit all the places that it has, or else expand further into California and the Pacific Coast and up and down the East Coast, maybe the Gulf area. But we have to, in some way, find a way that we can hold people that would be harassing these people into this and crippling their minds and everything else. Or else maybe they're in communications back and forth and just using it as a cover because they know one person is kind of doing it. So it's like, well, we can always use them as protection to the upper command. And do I necessarily want to say Islam? I'm more inclined to say it's something to do with Nazis because it's their technology that they used. And, you can say that's why they lost the wars, because they were trying to microwave, cell phone, shoot each other in the head for instant communications from the general and stuff on the lines. And it just, eventually, you just can't keep doing that. They only do it like 20 times to a CIA agent, or I've heard like 3 or 5 times, from one CIA agent that I actually have been around. And he's like, you can only do that 3 or 5 times for extreme emergency situations. That's why we train so much. And you're going to say that some kids, Colin, are doing this with like these specialized classrooms they got in the Appalachia? We've had whatever you've got at least like 80 years ahead, because we don't trust you Southerners with nothing in our northern, NORAD states of Colorado or California. And it's like, hey, you must got worse. I understand, man. I think these people should be held just as equally guilty in a way. And, even sending them back to their own countries, which people like, they weren't there, they weren't pulling the trigger, everything else. And I guess that's like giving them something to weaponize their stuff against us. But there's what I have to say over that. And I know this has gone really long, but I just keep looking at it. And while I know I'm probably going to hear someone, because the guy looks so not really Islamic, and like 2 or 3 people were saying something to me, and I had to watch something here today and came home or whatever it is and went out and got some buckets to go grow mushrooms. I'm just saying there's some people that would say stuff like, oh, Biden just had somebody go out there and do that so he could push his gun initiative. Biden is so high up, if he did something that petty, he doesn't even need to run for anything like even a city councilman in his whole life. That's something a city councilman would do. And I just find that deplorable, even with all the mudslinging that goes on nowadays. And it's like, I've got my own thing, and there's something I would love to say. And I've got like 2 or 3 hours at my work I can actually do freelance writing on, that I would love to say about the last set around of politicians. And I'm going, they're real issues and there's stuff that, needs to be investigated if we're going to investigate some of the crap we investigate. And I mean, that's just despicable and deplorable. Would I put it past any one of them? No, but I'm just going, that's like going, I'm going to practice kicking a grain of rice because I can kick a 70-yard field goal, not counting end zones. I understand you never pass up a penny for anything, but it's just wrong. No. There needs to be a whole lot more before anybody talks about that. And if they do talk about that, I understand. Oh, you must be a real political insider. You know all this deep down inside you. You know where it's all at. You know where the proof is. Okay, then you need to shut up and go find that proof, because I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear none of it. I don't want to hear nothing until you got something that you are not scared to turn into the Library of Congress for everybody to read, and would send a copy to Fox News, CNN, Al Jazeera, and the BBC. Now, I know this has gone on quite a bit, and thank you for bearing with me here. If you're still with me here, hit that like button down there, subscribe, and share. Share with whoever you want to. Thank you. Colin James Dawson.